Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating piece of esoteric history from the source material, Reptilian Strike Back 2. Now, you know the drill. Our goal here isn't to take a stance on these beliefs, but just to break down the incredibly vivid narrative the author lays out. We're going to look at the text objectively and structure this cosmic, mythological case study because, honestly, it reads like an epic sci-fi saga. Let's get right into it.
So, picture this. Earth is being totally ravaged by brutal wars, and to stop it, giant dinosaur-like beings descend from the stars. But get this, they aren't here to conquer us, they're here to preach peace and faith. It sounds like a total paradox, right? Well, this bizarre imagery is the exact hook of Chapter 3, and it outlines a surprising spiritual mission that totally flips our expectations of what a so-called monstrous alien arrival might look like. And that core idea is exactly where our focus lies today. The title for Chapter 3 literally translates to Zeta aliens who preach faith to the Lord. The text actually channels the consciousness of these Zeta aliens, giving us a highly detailed chronological account of their intervention on Earth. It's a super specific structured narrative, and we're going to map out exactly who they were, why they came, and the dangerous philosophy they were trying to stop.
Section 1. Arrival of Zetas in Africa.
The source material is remarkably specific about the timeline here. According to the text, this whole cosmic intervention took place roughly 8,000 to 9,000 years ago. The narrator describes arriving on Earth right after the Ice Age ended. The planet was warming up, and they specifically note seeing this lush green landscape covering Africa. It really is a vivid setting for what's about to be a very dramatic entrance.
Now, what's really interesting is how their technology is described. The Zetas didn't just show up in your classic flying saucers. The source explicitly describes them riding in massive, black, square UFOs, descending right over the African continent. It's this incredibly imposing, almost brutalist aesthetic that perfectly sets the stage for the beings who are piloting them.
And who exactly was inside those black square UFOs? Well, the text categorizes these specific Zeta aliens as Godzilla types. They possess this gigantic, super intimidating stature, resembling massive dinosaurs, and they walked with a heavy, bipedal movement, walking upright and just stomping across the land. The physical contrast here is absolutely key to the story. You have these terrifying, prehistoric-looking beasts, but they're armed with highly advanced spacefaring technology and a deeply spiritual purpose.
Section 2. Reptilian Hegemony Dispute.
So, a crucial piece of context is found in this quote right from the text. While observing Earth, the Zetas noted that the earlier extraterrestrial pioneers, specifically a faction known as the Reptilians, had developed a terrible reputation across the cosmos. The Zetas saw them as a brutal, completely out-of-control species. Earth, under their influence, was just trapped in a state of chaotic warfare. To give us a framework for all this chaos, the text draws a really fascinating parallel. The author explains that the Reptilians were locked in these gruesome internal wars over faith and hegemony. The text explicitly compares these conflicts to the mythological battles of ancient Egypt, specifically that legendary violent struggle between the gods Osiris and Set. So we're talking about an era of intense ideological and physical warfare.
Section 3. Warning on Evolution Supremacy.
This contrast gets right to the philosophical heart of this esoteric history. We're looking at a direct ideological clash. On one side, you have the reptilian mindset, which the text says was obsessed purely with physical evolution, dominance, and strength. On the other side, you have the Zeta mission, which was entirely focused on introducing balance through faith, love, and mercy. It's a classic dichotomy, but it's framed within this massive galactic power struggle.
Let's define this dangerous ideology the Zetas were so concerned about. We can call it evolution supremacy. According to the source, the Reptilians prioritize survival, strength, and continuous advancement above absolutely everything else. To them, the universe was a pure meritocracy of power. Anything that hindered physical or strategic advancement, like compassion for instance, well, that just had to be discarded. Now it's really telling how the text spells out the danger of this mindset. The quote reads, "The Reptilians feel that a heart of love and mercy is a proof of weakness." This tragic misinterpretation is exactly what the Zetas recognized as the fatal flaw in reptilian society. By viewing love as a vulnerability, the Reptilians were basically trapping themselves in this endless, vicious cycle of war and spiritual degradation.
Section 4. Preaching Faith to the Lord.
The text details how the Zetas felt this profound sense of duty. They knew they had to step in, admonish the Reptilians, and correct the mistakes of this fierce race.
But here is the genius of their approach in the narrative. They use their terrifying Godzilla-like forms deliberately. They didn't come down to wage war. Instead, they used their intimidating physical presence to command enough immediate respect and fear from the Reptilians so that they would actually stop fighting and just listen to the teachings.
Let's break down their chronological strategy. Step 1. Arrive in ancient Africa in those striking square UFOs. Step 2. Observe the brutal Osiris and Set-like wars for hegemony. Step 3. Use their massive presence to admonish and check the violent behavior of the Reptilians. And finally, Step 4. Once they had their attention, preach a new philosophy emphasizing faith to the Lord and cosmic balance. The text introduces a really compelling concept to explain how they governed, the idea of a two-faced god, kind of like the Roman god Janus. The author explains that to guide a violent species, you really have to show a strict, terrifying face to establish order and enforce boundaries. But crucially, you also need to possess the gentle, merciful face of a loving deity. It's the synthesis of these two extremes that actually brings about true spiritual evolution.
And that brings us right back to the most important philosophical takeaway from the Zeta's teachings in this chapter. They wanted to fundamentally rewrite the reptilian code. They needed to prove that possessing a heart of love and mercy is not a liability. In fact, it requires immense strength to choose compassion in a universe that constantly pushes you toward ruthless survival. It's not a proof of weakness. For the Zetas, it's the ultimate proof of higher consciousness.
Which leads me to a final question I want to leave you with. In this mythological case study, highly advanced, deeply intimidating beings traverse the stars just to teach that compassion is the ultimate strength. Taking a step back from the esoteric context, how does that philosophy apply to our own human history today? Are we balancing our own rapid evolution with the mercy required to actually sustain it? It's a powerful thought to ponder. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the source material. I hope this explainer helped clarify the fascinating narrative within. Until next time, keep learning and keep questioning.